Welcome back to the Viking Update Show. He's John Krawczynski from The Athletic. I'm Jim Souhan from the Star Tribune and TalkNorth.com. This is TalkNorth.com, and we're coming to you from the Aquarius Home Services Studio.
Scott for Aquarius, where we make home services easy. Summer's wrapping up and those cold, crisp mornings are on the way. Is your furnace ready for the change of seasons? Upgrade now with 36 months 0% financing and stay comfy from the last warm afternoon to the cold winter ahead. Beat Mother Nature at her own game. Schedule your free estimate at AquariusHomeservices.com. Financing based on credit approval. Aquarius, earning the right to be recommended.
Hey, this is Randy Shaver. Along with Kevin Gorg, we host the show Fantasy Huddle on Talk North. Each week, we're going to break down the matchups for the NFL season and try to give you the best chance to win your fantasy football games each and every week. Join us for Fantasy Huddle on Talk North.
The show is also presented to you by Onyx Hunt and the Minnesota State Lottery. Welcome back to the Minnesota State Lottery. Also check out John Krawczynski on the John Krawczynski Show. Recently had a big live show at Head Flyer Brewing, one of our more popular shows, and the Wolves are ramping up right now. It's a fascinating team. But, of course, nobody's as fascinating on a relentless basis as the Minnesota Vikings. My God, all the drama in Europe, come back, still don't know who's going to be the quarterback when they come out of the bye. It's pretty amazing stuff. But we have to start with the quarterback position, and let's start here. First of all, usually when we cover a Vikings game, we're pretty high up. And listen, it's a great press box. I have no complaints, but we're fairly high up, and it's kind of like watching, ants on a faraway field, and you watch replay to see everything's happening. I will say in Tottenham Hotspur Stadium, the seats were right down near the field. You could see and hear everything. And watching Wentz lead them on that last drive, go 9 for 9 behind a line with only one offensive line starter. And he's managing behind that group against a very good defense. Takes them down. There's 9 for 9. The last 3 passes all to Jordan Addison. Score the game-winning touchdown. Survive that trip. Stay in the hunt. The reaction I saw on the Vikings sideline from fairly up close kind of reminds you why we love sports. It reminds you why the NFL is just so captivating. I mean, all these guys just, exulting over that, winning that game in that way. It was really cool. And before we try to figure out who's going to play and how all this is going to play out, I will say that I had not heard great things about Carson Wentz coming into his time with the Vikings, either as a backup player or a guy to have around. He might have saved the season with that last drive. He seems to be behaving like a complete pro, a veteran, a guy who works well with McCarthy. I watched them on the practice field in London and in Dublin, and it looked like McCarthy and Wentz are getting along great. So I just got to give Carson Wentz really high grades for how he's handled this difficult position.
Yeah, I mean, I think I'd heard some of the same things about, attitude, about kind of just, I don't know if it's diva or whatever it is, but like that it just didn't seem that earlier on in his career, Carson Wentz had a good hold on, being a leader that you need to be as a quarterback. And so sometimes when you go through things and maybe your kind of career is pushed to the brink, it allows you to do some reflection and look at things a little bit differently. And I think we've seen it a lot with guys who, if they're having a hard time getting the message, sometimes you have to be right on the edge of being done, to get some clarity. And if that is what has happened with Carson Wentz, well, that's great because he will benefit from it. And the Vikings are benefiting from it right now. He does just look like a player who has a real good command of what he needs to do and what the Vikings need from him. And so, I think he's done an amazing job, since he's been in there of, playing behind a patchwork line, dealing with some of the adversity that comes with it and then just shouldering it and just being like, look, we're going to find a way. We're going to figure this out. And that kind of approach can really endear yourself to teammates, to coaches, and kind of can show another side of you, maybe that people had not seen before. And so far, so good for him, because not only was he nails on that drive and just making, every throw against a really good defense, that he needed to make, but he also is it just seems like he has a good hold on what a leader needs to be in this situation. And so I think there's not much more you could ask of what than what he's given so far.
We're talking here on Wednesday of the bye week. Right now, Wentz is dealing with an injured left shoulder that took him out of action briefly in London. McCarthy is probably not 100% yet. They're hoping he will be 100% by the time the Eagles game comes around, but it's pretty clear they do not want to play him until they feel like he's really completely recovered from a high ankle sprain, which usually takes a while. They don't want to put him out with his level of experience and have him not have full mobility. So we don't know what's going to happen to that position. I will say, having been with the team the last couple of weeks, having had a lot of conversations, having had time to think about it and try to think clearly about it rather than just kind of reacting to public sentiment, I think it's pretty simple. McCarthy's the franchise quarterback. He's going to start when he's ready. The fact that Wentz has played well in his stead means they don't have to be tempted to put him out there until he's completely ready. I really think it's that simple.
Yeah, and the one thing that kind of complicates this right now is that you have a tough schedule, but that's whatever. But then it's Sunday and Thursday coming out of the bye. And it's like, oh man, are you going to put a guy whose ankle is maybe just still a little tender? And it's important to note, high ankle sprain is usually a thing that can be really painful and take a while to heal. And so, I think that when you look at what Carson Wentz has given you so far, it has been, let's just say this, it's been good. It's been really solid. It hasn't been light the world on fire. So it is completely, out of the realm of possibility that you go back to JJ. He's been really good. But not good enough to be like open and shut. No, you just stay with Carson Wentz. I'm kind of in the position, Jim, of, I think that this is all going to happen organically in terms of something will happen with Carson Wentz. Eventually they're like, look, okay, this was a good run. We've gotten to that point, and it's easy to kind of ease back to McCarthy that way. And maybe it will be that maybe he comes out of the bye like, man, these ribs are not, getting better. The shoulder is troubling. I'm compromised. And so then you go back that way. But I don't think that they need to rush that decision. So Wentz is playing well, and has done a good job. And if anything, what it has done is buy McCarthy a little bit more time. I think that's a good situation to be in.
I agree. And let's also face it, it's the NFL, so we kind of know what's going to happen. Carson Wentz is going to play against Philadelphia Eagles because that's the best story. Right. And the league just wants the best stories out there.
That's right. Yes. Let's get the drama out there. Let's get him against his old team. Eagles look a little bit, mortal, this year now. And so why not? Let's just drum up as much intrigue as possible. And the league is very good at doing that. And you and I will both be, happily sitting in our seats and watching that game and kind of like, putting our fingers together and say, let's go. Let's see how we can ramp this thing up.
Well, and I think Nick Foles and Mike Zimmer should come in and do the galley horn,
Yes, absolutely. Yes. Let's do it. Let's whatever we can do to increase the pageantry and the drama of it. We will do that. Absolutely. So that's the thing. That's our job.
All right. I'm actually making a prediction how I think it's going to go here in the short term. Do want to let you know that we are presented to you by Onyx Hunt. Have you ever driven past a piece of land and wondered who owns that, or maybe maybe to know exactly where a property line runs. That's where Onyx Hunt comes in. And it's not just for hunters. There are folks using Onyx for their jobs every day throughout the country, from farmers and ranchers mapping out their fields, wildland firefighters navigating rough terrain, to construction workers needing to know who owns what property. This app offers something for everyone. If you need the best land ownership maps, aerial imagery, and property boundaries in your pocket, Onyx Hunt is the tool for the job. Try it free for 7 days. Download Onyx Hunt in the app or Google Play Store, or visit onyxmaps.com/hunt to get started. We're sitting here again. We don't know anything till like next Wednesday, probably at the earliest. And then we'll have a feel for who's running the first team and who's physically able to play. My guess is the way the schedule breaks, with the caution they've shown McCarthy with that very difficult injury, my guess is they play Wentz against the Eagles and the Chargers. And then by then, McCarthy should be completely ready and have 10 days to prepare for the Lions. Not that it's fun to play against the Lions, but I think one thing that has seeped into the conversation around Vikingdom is, oh boy, you can't play him against this team. You can't play him against that team. You can't play him.
Right.
He's a top 10 draft pick in his second year. I think, you can't bait him. He's going to have to play good teams eventually. So I think that's probably the most logical thing to happen. Now that I said it out loud, I'm sure it has no chance of happening, but that's my take right now.
Yeah, I completely agree that you cannot base when he comes back on the opponent. Because if you're saying, well, we're a little worried about him against the Eagles or, whatever, then that means you don't really believe in JJ McCarthy as your starting quarterback. Like that's a bigger issue. And I don't think they're in that position. I don't think that they feel that way. But, I think that looking at the schedule and the opponent, it shouldn't be the driver. But what you can do absolutely is be like, look, we're coming out of the bye and we have 2 games in 5 days. Like that's like, if you're trying to get back and we want to put you in the best position to stay healthy and succeed, that's not a good way to do it. Like it's just like in the NBA, like if you've missed a month, you're not playing a back-to-back right out of the chute. Like it's just like with some injury, like that's not smart from a health standpoint either. And so I agree with you that timeline does seem to make sense, and not because we think necessarily that JJ would not play well against the Eagles and that would struggle that way. But it's just like for the long term, when you put him back out there, you want him to stay out there. Like you don't want to have this yo-yo situation, going back and forth. And so get that ankle completely strong, let him practice some, deal with the schedule kind of idiosyncrasies. And then when he comes back, then you just go for the stretch run and make it happen that way.
Agreed. All right, let's get to other issues facing this team. I get in the sense the Van Ginkel injury is going to linger, and that's bad because he is an exceptional player and Dallas Turner still isn't making many plays. And boy, you see Dallas Turner out there and they'd love running right at him. And they know that one blocker is going to hold him out of the play. Cashman coming back, I think, is major. They probably win that Steelers game if Pace doesn't make a mistake, go to the wrong zone for coverage and leave the entirety of the middle of the field for DK Metcalf to catch and run. Cashman just makes plays. He's great against the run. He gets very deep drops in coverage. He reacts quickly. He's a great tackler. He makes a huge difference. I think they're going to get Donovan Jackson back. It was very interesting. We saw him on Friday in London, actually out on the practice field. He's probably going to have to wear some kind of a soft cast, but it looks like he's edging closer. That would be a big development. Jurgens, one of their better backup offensive linemen, looks like he's working his way back. So they are getting healthier. They probably much healthier coming out of the bye. And as I think you mentioned, the Eagles, listen, very good team, great roster. They're not playing great. It's not the worst time in the world to play a very good team.
Yeah. I mean, maybe they wake up after the loss, this last week and just like snap out of it. I don't know. But yeah, there does seem to be like a little bit of a malaise that has befallen them. And so I don't think they're by any means unbeatable. I was just thinking while you were mentioning it, Jim, like about all the guys that might be coming back, and it just like a reason number 2,700,000, how these guys are different. It's like, okay, you get a week off and now all of a sudden your, hamstring, your concussion, your shoulder, your ribs are going to be magically healed when, for me with the same injury, I'd be out for 6 months. Like it's incredible. Though I will say, like, the one thing I am worried about Van Ginkel quite a bit, actually. I've tried to like at least have some conversations with people around the situation about how he's doing. And I just don't get a good feeling. Like I don't have anything to report, like necessarily that, but it does not seem like, that this is something that is going to resolve itself quickly. And so I think that there's a lot that they're working through on his front, and he could be out for an extended period of time. And that would be a big blow. Getting Cashman back would be huge, for the defense in general. But the Van Ginkel one is one I'm watching closely because I just don't have a good feeling about how that's all going to play out.
Agreed. All right, let's take care of the rest of our business, and then we'll get back to Vikings issues, injuries, lineups, the schedule. We'll make a pick on this game. Vikings won't make a pick this week. We'll skip the picks this week. We'll talk about the division a little bit. Do want to tell you that just got back from Europe. There for a long time. Was there like 11, 12 days. Great experience. Dublin was an absolute blast. London's always good. But Dublin's really a special event and a special feeling around that event. It was like a big small town. Everybody's wearing a jersey. Everyone's having a great time. Really loved it. My Irish heritage makes me want to go back very frequently now. But anyway, I wore stuff that I bought at Twill in the Dining Galleria, Twill by Scott Dayton in the Dining Galleria. This is a Peter Millar pullover. And I wore this on flights. I wore it on buses. I wore it on trains. I wore it in cabs. I wore it in press boxes, restaurants. I stuffed it in my bag as an extra layer. We're Minnesotans. We live in layers. So do the Irish. You don't know if it's going to rain, snow, you get sunburnt. If you're going to be over air conditioned, you don't know if somebody's going to have a window open. You don't know how many layers you're going to need. The Peter Millar quarter zips are fantastic. I have not washed this yet since I got home. I need to. I will. But I wanted to wear it. It's like, I'm not sure it even has a wrinkle in it. And I beat the heck out of this thing. That's the great thing about buying quality clothes. You won't need to replace them. They will look good. They'll wear like iron. I've had this, I think, for a couple of years now, and it looks absolutely brand new. And I'm not very easy on clothes. So that's an example of what you can get at Twill in the Dining Galleria. They are a Peter Millar crown shop. I think they're the only Peter Millar crown shop in the upper Midwest. There's a reason for that. Twill in the Dining Galleria. Check it out. Tell them we sent you. Highly recommend everything in that store. Thanks also to the Minnesota State Lottery.
She's Jen, the ultimate Vikings fan.
Welcome to the Vikings Jan Show Fan Show. My special guest today is Victor, the Vikings mascot. Victor, who you got for the Vikings game this week? I'll take that as Vikings. So that's our show. We'd like to thank our sponsor, the Minnesota Lottery, who reminds you this could be your year. So play the new Vikings Scratch game for a shot at $100,000, game tickets, and more. Minnesota Lottery. I'm in. Must be 18 or older to play.
And here's Talk North star Michael Russo for Clamshell Beach Resorts.
Hey, have you been dreaming of a lake cabin lifestyle with boating, fishing, and family fun in northern Minnesota? Well, lately I've thought a lot about how cool it would be to have a getaway like so many Minnesotans. And if you're like me, you probably think that owning your own lakeside getaway is beyond your budget. Well, if you think lake cabin real estate prices keep going up, well, think again. This is Russo, and I'm here to tell you there is an affordable way to enjoy a cabin lifestyle and all that goes with it. And yes, I said affordable. I founded a Clamshell Beach Resort, which is located on the Whitefish chain of 14 lakes for you and your family to enjoy. Here's how. Clamshell has lake homes that offer deeded fractional ownership, and the keywords there are deeded and fractional. You own it. Imagine having 5 weeks a year to enjoy Clamshell with its beaches, pool, and lodge that's full of kids' activities. Is golf your game? There's a great golf course right across the road. Like winter sports? Well, you can go ice fishing, cross-country skiing, or snowmobiling right out the door at Clamshell. And there's no maintenance, no grass mowing, no snow removal. It's done all for you. And you can own a share of Clamshell Beach Resort at an affordable price. To learn more about ownership opportunities at Clamshell Beach Resort, go to cottagesonwhitefish.com or contact Pat Egan at 612-220-9819. That's cottagesonwhitefish.com or Pat Egan at 612-220-9819.
All right. So I feel like we kind of forget in every offseason just how crazy NFL seasons are, because we tend to talk in absolutes and we tend to look at quarterback play and, who was good last year. Then you get in the season and you just see weird upset after weird upset. The Bills losing to the Patriots at home, the Eagles losing. I mean, so many good teams lost. And let's face it, after week one, it looked like the Packers might be the best team in the NFL. And since then, they've had a bad loss to Cleveland and kind of an inexplicable tie with Dallas, and doesn't look like the best team in the NFL anymore. The Lions looked terrible in week one. They've looked great ever since. I think the Bears are still a work in progress at best. But I mean, at this moment, how has what has happened in the first 5 weeks altered your view of this conference and this division?
Yeah, I mean, I think that I definitely was one who certainly looked at the Micah Parsons trade and then looked at how Green Bay came out of the chute and was like, "Ooh, boy, like that is going to be a real big mountain to climb." And since that time, it has certainly looked less daunting. I still think they're really good. I still, they'll probably figure things out, but there are enough sort of holes that say, that make me stick with what I said at the start, which I think Detroit's the best team. I think that they're the most talented team in the division. And Dan Campbell has done a good job of, I think, so far answering that, hey, he's going to be okay with new coordinators. We'll see where it all shakes out, but the concern about losing Ben Johnson, about losing Aaron Glenn, certainly well-founded, but it looks like right now that the infrastructure of that team is such that, hey, they're going to be sustainable going forward here. And so I still put them where I had them at the start, which is above net. But I do think that Green Bay is more vulnerable than I initially thought. And so, where the Vikings fit in all this, I don't know exactly. I mean, it's really hard to gauge it because, I said that they should be a 10-11 win team, but I mean, they've had a ton of injuries and things that have come up that you didn't expect at the start of the season. And so, I don't feel as good about the Vikings now as I did at the start of the season, but I feel as good or better about Detroit. And that's kind of where I see kind of the landscape of the North, at least in the NFC. I love Tampa Bay right now. I love Baker Mayfield. I love Ibuka. I love the way that they're playing. They seem to be the feistiest team in this conference, and that's fun to watch. So, we'll see about that going forward, but I didn't know what to think of them going into it, but man, Baker Mayfield's been awesome. And that's been super cool to watch him take hold of that job and that team kind of just keep winning close, crazy games the way that they've been doing it.
And who else has been kind of under the radar impressive is the Cowboys. For all their problems, for trading away Micah Parsons, for getting their best player, CeeDee Lamb, injured, and still really having a very good offense. Their offense they have Javonte Williams, who's cast off from the Broncos. He's having a big year. Ferguson, who's not considered to be an elite tight end, he's having a big year. They have enough receiving talent to survive without CeeDee Lamb. They've survived defensively. That Giants game, they got lit up. But in general, they've kind of done just enough to survive defensively. And Dak Prescott's having a great year. He's having a phenomenal year. I don't think I really expect anything out of that team, but it has been impressive how they survived that. And let's talk about the Eagles. Saquon Barkley is having an almost predictable letdown after doing what he did last year. You just don't find many running backs who have historically good year and then are just the same the next year. It just doesn't happen. It's just too hard. It's a position where you just get hit on every play, where you have to be explosive. You can't there's nothing, you can't fake it at that position. You can't manage it. You either have it or you don't. So Barkley is not the same as he was last year. And A.J. Brown is not getting the ball very much and isn't happy about it. And they might be their two best offensive players.
Yeah, and I think like a little bit similar to the Vikings. I think the Eagles have had some injuries on the offensive line that have made it a little bit tougher. But you're right. Like, I do think like when we see things like the drop off that we've seen from Barkley a little bit, it does make me appreciate Adrian Peterson a little bit more in terms of just like the way that he was able to be a beast over and over again for a real extended period of time. Because when you get that amount of work, it like just your body changes. And so maybe Barkley is just a titch slower than he was or banged up. And that can be the difference in games like this. And you're also seeing, I think, like, the possibility that, Pat Riley always talked about the disease of more. Like you win a championship and then you want more. Everyone wants more, receptions. You want more touches. You want more money. You want more of this. You want more of that. And maybe that's trickling in a little bit. I'm not there, but like certainly looking at it from the outside, it looks like a team that is sort of like unhappy with their success, or just like whether it's bored or envious or whatever it is. Like it has not strengthened that team. It has actually kind of put some wedges in there, and so they're going to have some battling to do. Maybe they'll figure it out as the season goes along, but I thought starting the season that they were clearly the most talented team, and I think they still have a ton of talent, but it's really hard. There's a reason that you just don't have repeat champions that often, that that it's so hard to sustain and to keep doing it. The game is so physical. The season is long. And I think maybe some of that is setting in with the Eagles here. Yeah.
And, I also look at that team and remember that last year, they went down to Tampa Bay. I think it was before we really realized that Tampa was really legitimately good too. Tampa beat them, and Hurts was kind of sniping at his head coach, and that team looked like they were a mess about a year ago. And they did. Yeah,
Sirianni was going to get fired in like week 2. Yeah.
So I do think that group can figure it out. I just don't think they have the explosive offensive talent that's going to make them special. I think they're going to be good. I just don't think they're going to be special this year. So I don't expect them to repeat at this point. And that leads into, our updated look at that schedule, the 4 seemingly unwinnable games they're going to face after the bye. Eagles, still a very tough challenge, but you're playing them at home and they're not playing great. At least you may have a fighting chance. Then Chargers, I love what Jim Harbaugh's doing. I think that Herbert's having a great year. They have excellent receivers, but they've lost their 2 starting running backs. So Marion Hampton is out on IR. Najee Harris, who's going to be his primary backup, is out for the year with an Achilles.
And their offensive line banged up.
And their offensive line is also banged up. So very well coached team, very good team, great quarterback. Again, not a completely unwinnable game. Detroit at Detroit. That might have to take that one on the chin. Some of these games are scheduled losses. Then the Ravens, home against a Ravens team that is devastated by injuries, that has no defense right now, that is Lamar Jackson hurt. If you can survive that 4-game stretch, you got a chance.
For sure. And this was always too, Jim, like looking at this season, why I said, 10 to 11 wins was like, you were not going to win 14 games this year. And so in a season like that, where if you win 10 games, you're losing 7. Like that's a lot. And so you're going to take lumps in a season like this. You hope that by the end of it, you have got your team healthy, that you figured some things out, and that once you get into the playoffs, that you can win a game or 2, you can make a run. But this was always going to be a season, I thought, that you were going to look at it and say, yeah, there's going to be weeks where, man, it just doesn't look good. And then there's going to be weeks where you put things together, you scrape things out, and you get there. And I mean, 10-7 is just a little bit better than winning every other game. And so, but that's a successful season. And so I like that all, the recipe for that all seems to be there still for this team. And, you know, we'll see what happens with Wentz and McCarthy, and we'll see what happens with some of the health, of some of their guys, especially on defense. But, I'm not really shocked at the way that things are right now. They're 3-2. It hasn't been necessarily pretty. But this is kind of what a 10-7, a 9-8 season starts to look like.
Yeah, I agree. And I think, listen, they didn't play well against Atlanta, and Atlanta had a really good night. So you just have to sometimes you just get beat. I think the Pittsburgh game is one they might end up regretting when they look back later in the season. If they don't give Metcalf a free touchdown, if, you know, I think Wentz had a couple of passes tipped, one for an interception. And, you know, Jordan Mason has been outstanding at running the ball. He had a fumble. I just felt like there were mistakes made during that game that were kind of unforced errors. And I feel like they should have won that game. But yeah, 3-2. You're going to have games like that too. Let's wrap up this week's show, since we're not going to do a pick of the Eagles game this week. Pick one player you think is going to be key to the rest of the season. One non-quarterback who might be kind of a swing player, or somebody we haven't talked about, who you think could be a key to the rest of the season. Or I'll go first.
Yeah.
If you
go first. Go first.
Mine is TJ Hawkinson. I
was thinking about it.
Okay. Well, yeah. we can agree too. You know,
I got one, but yeah, go ahead.
You know, and he made a big catch in the fourth quarter. You know, he still has the hands. He seems to be pretty healthy, but he just hasn't had a great season yet. And of course, he's dependent on quarterback and offensive line play and all that. I would just think he'd be the logical. Precede this by saying Justin Jefferson's always going to be the focal point of the offense, of the game plan. You're always going to have to get him the ball. He showed again on Sunday that you throw it anywhere near him, he's going to catch it. Of course, he should get the ball a lot. Addison had a great game, but I just think that Hawkinson could end up being J.J. McCarthy's best friend. Just somebody who's big, who's always open in the middle of the field. You don't have to throw, a bullet 30 yards out into the sideline to get a completion. You can run after the catch a little bit. I just would like to see, whether it's physical, game plan, mental, familiarization with the quarterbacks, whatever, I would like to see Hawkinson be a little bit bigger part of the offense.
Yeah, I'll say, I was watching the game on Sunday, and right before he made that one big catch, the thought crossed my mind is, where the bleep is TJ Hawkinson? Where's he been? He just has not, I anticipated that he was going to be much more involved and much more effective at the start of this season than he has been. And then he comes through and made a big catch. And I do think they have to find a way to utilize him more. I think about McCarthy at Michigan with Loveland. He does like to throw to his tight ends. And so that does make a lot of sense. And it's also a good one because it could go either way. Maybe it just doesn't work, and maybe he's leveled off in his physical ability or whatever it is, and he doesn't deliver. And if he doesn't, I think that's going to make it a lot harder on this offense. But he also is capable of becoming more of a primary threat again, and that would really open things up. My pick, I think we touched on it a little bit, but I just think Blake Cashman is so important for this team, because they have not looked dominant like they're supposed to, especially against the run, in recent weeks. And, Blake Cashman just does seem to be the safety blanket for that whole group. And when he is on the field, they are just much more effective. They're together. They're better against the run. And so if he can get on the field and stay healthy, then I think that unlocks a lot more of what this defense is capable of doing, and doesn't mean that they just have to rely on forcing turnovers. You can just be sound and stout and stop and force punts, with Blake Cashman out there. And if he can't stay healthy, which he's been banged up several times already, in his Vikings career and throughout his career, that makes it just a lot harder for them to be a unit that controls games and that wins games for you. So, he's a big one coming out of the bye and looking at, just getting him back and what he can do out there.
Check out the John Krawczynski Show. Also check out our other Vikings shows at TalkNorth.com. Jeff Diamond's Vikings and NFL Insider with the former Vikings general manager, and Alec Lewis's show, which he works really hard on. He produces multiple shows a week. Really good stuff. Check that out as well. We appreciate you watching and listening. Thanks for listening to TalkNorth.com.